you around the names.
Danny. Ironic.
And I'm Memo.
I'll ask, how's it been? Like, since the day it was announced that you had this album ready to go and you got the deal, what's that been like, this journey to sort of figure out what to do next?
Sheer excitement. It's bittersweet. Our brother's legacy will be immortalized. We had one last weekend to spend together before he left this earth, and we just laughed all weekend. You know, that was the first time we got a chance to hang out with Danny, and it was just pure jokes the entire time.
What was Giant's reaction to the deal and, you know, that this was going to happen?
He was on top of the world. He last Friday he went to CHUO to announce it, and he was just ecstatic. He was ecstatic from the time that it was cemented. He was on cloud 9. This was all he ever wanted. A hit track, a shot.
And with us three.
Yeah, absolutely. To do it all. I mean, we've known him since he first came to Canada. Since we're all in grade 7. Since he was 14 years old. You know, I was 12, Memo was 13, and he's always been about the music. You know. And his hair. He's always been about the music and his hair. When we knew him, he didn't have dreads though. He had a Bobby Brown high cut side fade. That was, you know what I mean, on a 45-degree angle. True story.
He kind of charts the story of hip hop in Ottawa, right? I mean, his time kind of tracks that period, right? Here in Ottawa.
Absolutely.
Is that fair?
Yeah, we actually, when we came together, was in the early 90s hip hop era, where hip hop was still fairly new in Canada, let alone Ottawa. Maestro Fresh West had just broken through. Ottawa had a group, Organized Rhyme, Tom Green.
Ground Control.
Had Ground Control, they had Clarence Gruff, and there was us. But we were definitely one of the ones who surpassed a lot of them, just in the sense of the achievements and the accolades that we did within that time of us forming to up until about 2003. Was from about 92 to about 2004, when, you know, we solidified our legacy as a group. And we did all the things like Much Music. We you know, we worked with all kinds of legends in the game. And then in 2004, we basically all went our separate ways due to some indifferences. I myself got lost in a really bad battle with addiction. I've since been clean only a year. I've been doing music again only a year. Got my group back together, and you know, I basically, this was the work that I've done between staying clean, working on the group, and making everything work. This was the result. This last track we did with my brother was the last thing we basically managed to put together. So I'll cherish it forever.
And that's the thing. We got back together after 15 years in, I think it was October?
In October, yeah.
In October, yeah. And
15 years of doing nothing.
Before
Absolutely
he
nothing.
left this earth, you know, we got to rekindle our connection as a group, as well as vibe out and create music together. And actually put something out, you know.
Yeah, we managed to get from recording the song to actually doing everything we needed to do, including the video and all the press work for it. It's just, you know, it breaks my heart that he can't be here to see.
He would be on top of the world. So.
Yeah, he'd be on top of the world right now, yes. It just breaks my heart to not see it, not see that he's going to get to see it, you know.
Because he was all about making this music as opposed to, he was all about his shine. He wanted to shine. He wanted you to know who Giant Jah was, and it wasn't just a part-time passion for him. And if he knew how his name was ringing through the nation's capital right now, he'd be on top of the world.
Yeah, like, you know, all he ever wanted to be was famous, right? And now he is the most famous guy right now, which is
In the city.
it's bittersweet.
If he was with us, we could talk to him still. The first thing he would say is, "Look, I made a front page." That's the first thing he would say, and I guarantee it. Yeah, and I look good. That's the first thing he would say. I guarantee it.
Can you tell me about the message of the music that you intended, and what it's become now that he's not here anymore? Has the message changed?
Well, the message has always been, Half-Size Giant's message has always been clear, which is basically what, like, a half-size giant is, which is someone who's short in stature, but giant in everything else. Giant in talent, giant in life, giant in everything we do. But as far as the music we've always written, we've always stayed true to ourselves, you know, and that was, I think, what resonated with a lot of people from day one with us, was that when we came out, we were writing about getting suspended from school. We were writing about three guys who came together, culture shock, racism, things that we were actually experiencing, not things we were seeing on TV.
Teenage heartbreak, being suspended.
Teenage heartbreak, being suspended, those kind of things, not gangs and violence and drugs, which is what we weren't living at the time, or ever. I'm just saying, we just weren't living that life, so we just talked about what we knew, and I think that resonated with people. And still, the message is still clear. The last song we did with Danny is a song about heartbreak. You know, we've all been through it. We continue to be through it even in our adult years. It's still happening, and it's all it was. You know what I mean? It was about a song being true to yourself. You know, the song's called "Girl You Know," and it's basically we're saying is, "Girl, you know, it hurts me to watch you walk with someone else, even though I know you don't deserve me. I don't want nobody else." You know, and it's just something I'm sure we've all felt at one point.
Or I felt that way at one point about a relationship. The definition of a half-size giant is like David to Goliath. It's an underdog, someone who perseveres against all odds. And Marklin Campbell embodied that. Right up to the last moment he was alive, he was acting, behaving, and representing and carrying himself as a half-size giant. You know, I still can't express it enough. That weekend we got to shoot the video with Danny. It was the best time I've ever had with all of us in years. We just laughed and laughed and laughed, and it was joke after joke. And Marklin Campbell had an awesome laugh. His laugh was enduring, it was boisterous, and he's somebody that embodied the definition of our group name. And with this single, that's why we paired up with Danny, because Danny himself has come out of nowhere as a solo artist, is a half-size giant. David to Goliath, an underdog that persevered against all odds, you know? Yeah, he's just a pinch tall. Yeah, he's a pinch taller than all of us.
I actually thought he was only, I called him before we did the video shoot. I called him and we were trying to figure out outfits. And I said, "How tall are you, by the way?" I go, "Like 5'5" or something?" He goes, "Bro, I'm 5'10". I'm like, "I really didn't, I'm only 5'4", so I really only thought he was much bigger than me." But
yeah, that's it.
He makes you look small.
And so Danny would be 5'10", I'm 5'8", he's 5'6", Michael's 5'4".
Not even, I think 5'2", really,
Yeah.
5'1", something like
Yeah.
that. He's
5'3".
little guy, but he was definitely full of life and full of everything. You know, it just like I said, and in the whole fashion and the true fashion of a half-size giant and overcoming obstacles and stuff. I mean, you know, we're about to release our biggest single to date, and it's, you know, right again in half-size giant's fashion with this with this obstacle for us to overcome yet again, and you know, we will do it. We will do it.
That's the irony of this situation, is that we created the best piece of work we believe all around to date, and hours after we solidified a national radio campaign, our brother was taken from us. This is real. That's exactly how it happened. And he was doing it, rushing to his daughter's aid because she was being abused by a couple of teenage punks. The single girl you know is something that everyone can relate to. And if you listen to Giant, if you listen, you can hear the passion in his voice. Every time I hear it, he just sounds so joyous, and he's singing about a girl breaking up with him. But he's happy about it. You could tell he's so jovial and elated to be on that track, to be performing, you know, and you hear in his voice, and he says the excitement, you know, half-size Giants alongside Danny Fernandez, and just it bellows, it rings, and our job right now is to just make sure the world knows his story. This is bigger than just a single release of a multicultural reggae, hip-hop, reggaeton, R&B group. This is something timeless that the world has to see, because what he stood for is embodied in how he performs in that song. And he was true to the name, a half-size giant. That's exactly who he was. Next question.
How will you perpetuate the song? Are you going to play it on stage? How's that going to work out?
Yes.
Well,
we're trying to figure out different ways. Right now, we figure it's a little too soon to perform it. But you know, we're working on a few tribute situations to perform it by either having maybe someone close to him, like his son, do his part.
His son's an artist as well. And
he's only 12.
He's 12 years old. And back in the day, we used to call Marklin Short Man, and we used to call his son Mini Man. So Mini Man's already practicing his father's parts. He's already at home, and that's the best way. When I went over to the house, and you know, I hugged him and kissed him, and I said, "You got to get ready. You got to get ready and practice for your father." You know, and that's where we're at right now. You know, and you got Danny, who's a platinum selling artist. He sings the hook. This guy's going on tour. This is something that, I mean, he can use as well, where, you know, let the people know who Giant was as the song starts to pick up speed.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is we want to say that the song has been released and that it will be playing across Canada on radio, but you know, it doesn't hurt to have people look for it, request it, ask for it, buy it, download it, whatever. Anything, you know, we're still working on anything that this song makes. Obviously the proceeds will be going to Giant's family, and anything from now on that we do music wise, whether it's new material or old, whatever it is, from now on we'll continue to have his share in there. Whether it's just us doing it, we're still going to cut him in a third.
Absolutely. Business wise, he's still a partner. He gets a third. Regardless if he's here until the end of time, he gets an equal third of all our projects. And he would have done the same for me.
How does the song Should Be Used play in this?
Absolutely. Again,
Again, irony.
It's the irony of this whole situation. Half-size giant, what is ironic? It's that statement, a half-size giant, is an ironic statement. What just happened to Marklin Campbell is absolutely ironic. His last single was called Shoot the Youths, about gun violence amongst teenagers.
Well, it's basically injustice towards youths that are getting killed by police and by other people, and then only to have a youth take his life away is just, it's mind-boggling.
You can't make this stuff up. It is what it is, you know.
So where do you guys go from here?
Well, like our third single.
The only way you can go. We go all the way up.
Up.
All the way up. We go with this, we run with the single, and we run with anything else we had that we did with him while he was still here. I did record a few things with him as well before he left, and we're just going to cherish all that material and do what we can with it.
Giant, more than anything, kept talking up until the day that he left us, was this song's going to win a Juno. He wants to win it. I want to put a Juno on his tombstone. He's going to be buried in Ottawa with us so we can see him regularly. I want to put a Juno on his tombstone. So that's what this is about. We're just going to push this and push this and push this. First of all, it's a great song, but it's because it was Giant's last will and testament.
It sounds like you're still kind of processing the whole thing.
Well, yeah, you know, I'll be honest,
It's still very hard. It's still very hard. I still think, I forget about it, and then I wake up and then I realize it's real. So it's still a very, very tough thing to be caught up in. You know, and for me it's extra hard because I was very close to him in the end. Because like I said, we did take a long break between us three as a group, and I was off doing my own thing, not music, nothing. But Ironic and Giant both continued their music career, but it just seems that nothing ever came to be unless we were all together.
the chemistry.
Like no matter what they did on their own, nothing ever came to be unless it was us three. That was when it clicked, you know. And it just kills me that I waited this long to come back only to have it stop like this. But we're not going to let it stop us. We're going to use it as a vehicle to promote our upcoming stuff. And like I said, Giant will always be with us.
That weekend wasn't very long ago.
Last weekend.
May 27th. It was
May
May 27th.
Oh, the weekend with us, you mean the
The
weekend that
weekend
you
with
left
you
us?
making
Where,
the video.
where
and
we had the
everything.
video shoot.
It's
Yes.
2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
So you must still hear his voice in your head
Yes.
a little bit, and I'm wondering how do you think he would have dealt with this? What words, what would he have told you to console you?
Personally, from knowing Giant, I always known him to be a very positive guy, and I know that if he was on the other end, whether he was talking to Chris about me or me about Chris, I think he would definitely give out some kind of words of wisdom that would make you say, hey, yeah, you're right, you know. And it just brings me back to like when I started doing music again. I would think because I went to him first and I said, you know, we should do this group thing again, and I remember always complaining about the other groups that are in Ottawa right now that are kind of bigger and they've been around longer lately than me, and I would always say, you know, I just hate it. I want to show them who I really am, and nobody knows me, nobody remembers me. And he would just say, don't even pay attention to that. It's
Don't
not
watch that.
Don't watch it. He goes, trust me, man. We're not even on their level, and it would be hard for me to just think that way, but for him it was just so easy. And I remember the last day, like I think that he was over in my house that morning, and I remember talking to him, and I remember telling him, you were right. You were right. I had to stop worrying about what everybody else was doing. And look, here we are now, and we're doing bigger things than anybody is. And all I had to do was just listen to what you were telling me, you know. And he just always had something wise to say.
Yes, he had many great sayings.
Yeah, he was a very...
Even our first single that we released as we all reunited last year,
Life
right
Moves
before
Fast.
Christmas, it's called Life Moves Fast, you know, and we shot it, you know, I mean, right in the market as well.
It's literally weird because my part was shot literally with my back facing to where his memorial is right now in the video itself. And the other thing that really haunts me is his lyrics start with,
Life in the capitals
I
becoming deadly.
I see a lot of little bad boys who follow blindly. Hopefully they can open up them eyes and see. We live in Revelation.
He's
Set
prophetic.
your mind free. His
Yeah.
life in the capital is becoming deadly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wow. It gives me goosebumps when I
Yeah, it's absolutely prophetic. You know, what would he say?
Yeah, Rastafari. That's what he was.
Yeah,
Ja.
definitely.
Rastafari.
Ja Rastafari. You must make the music go through. You must make the
We have
music.
to keep going, I think is what
Yeah,
he would say.
yeah. Forward,
Yeah.
forward. That's forward.
There you go.
He wouldn't have.
The members of a band usually have a personality or a characteristic. So who was he?
He was teething. He was teething.
Who was what?
Yeah, we were making fun of him all weekend, calling him T-Pain.
That weekend, because there's an artist named T-Pain, and he's got dreads and glasses. He was one of the first guys to bring auto-tune to the game, and Danny kept coming up behind him and bumping the back of his knees and saying, "Hey, T-Pain, hey, T-Pain," and you know, Giant was a real good sport about it. He just loved to laugh. He loved to laugh, and he was definitely set in his ways. If he believed in something, you were not swaying him. You were not going to sway his opinion. He was someone who definitely was strong opinionated, and he just loved life, his passion for life, where he
was never stressed. He was
No,
never
he
worried
used to-
about anything. It didn't matter what was going on. He had this mentality about, get off my back. You know?
Yeah, he used to use this analogy.
Get off my back.
Because I mean, with business and whatnot, you know, I'll get stressed out, and you know, you got paperwork, invoices and whatnot, and he'd just say, no, Chris, you just gotta say, get off me. And he'd actually make the motion. You gotta shake your stress off. You know, I'd howl. No, yeah, it's not easy. It's not, for him it was, to compartmentalize it and just say, hey, you know what, there's more to life than chasing a dollar. That's where his mind was at, you know, just to shine, to share his music with others, and to experience life. He loved music, he loved interacting with people, and he loved being recognized. He loved when someone come up to him on the street. I remember when the group was done, we were downtown, we were trying to get in on Tap, or one of these clubs downtown, and there was the bouncers, and me and Willie are getting ready to, you know, we're getting our ID ready, and we're getting ready to pay. This is in our early 20s, and Martin just walks by, outside Giants! Martin, who's over for 5 years? I don't think they care. No, they know. And that's just how he was. That's just how he was. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love you.
And we want to thank Danny again, really,
Yes.
really and truly. We just want to thank this man because, you know, he really blessed our song and really made it more than what it is.
I wasn't there the night they all met.
Yeah, Giant and I were the ones who seeked them out and got them
Met
on
at the
board.
Bourbon Room, and they all talked together, and they figured we have an idea for a reggaeton song,
Yeah.
and you know,
And then it
it just became a reality. It became a reality.
So just everybody look out for it, and you know, hopefully it's you know, it's bigger than even we were expected to be.
And you mentioned earlier, you know, how do you feel? I guess it's still processing. I'm grateful. I am grateful that that you have given us the platform to tell our brother's story. But it was hard to come here.
It's still been hard.
It was hard to come here. It was hard to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to open this up, you know, because it's not something that we want to talk about. It's not something that you can discuss in passing, but I'm really glad we had a chance to enlighten you all on what made Giant tick and our last days with him.
Thank you.